today? Can you all hear me and see me? And Brett, of course. Please answer in the chat so we can see. Excellent. Today's agenda is all about the form builder, of course. We're going to learn all about it, like why we built it, and most importantly, we'll guide you through practical examples from the easiest and fastest implementation made using like templates to a full sales funnel creation. We'll also have a few more tips on how to use the form builder to boost the sales cycle and the learning experience across your academies, which, you know, also why we like to call it the Swiss Army knife of online academies. Brett, if we can move to the intro page. Today's webinar will be hosted by Brett Hamilton, our customer success manager, our Costantina Rumuliotti, who is our quality assurance engineer, and she's looking after all your questions and the chat. So thank you, Costantina, and myself. I'm Sara Cortellazzi. I'm senior product marketing manager here at LearnWorlds. So great team here today. Just a couple of things before we get started. The first one is that a recorded version of this webinar will be made available tomorrow via email. The second one is that since it's going to be a super practical session, you can actually try to split the screen, and so you can follow the action into directly into your school, if you'd like to, of course. And the third one is that we'd love to hear any questions you may have. We really want to help out using this amazing tool. So please type your questions in the Q&A box. It's much easier for us to get back to you during the presentation, and in case we don't make the time, also to email you afterwards with the answer and follow-ups. I'm done with the housekeeping. Let's go. So why did LearnWorlds get into this? Like, let's face it, there are plenty of forms builder out there. There is Typeform, Jotform, SurveyMonkey, Paperform. I've counted about 30 on Capterra alone. So why to create a new one? At LearnWorlds, we deal every day with like thousands of online businesses. So we understand the need of streamlining workflows, avoiding wasting time and budget, like to familiarize ourselves with a completely new tool. And we also want to make sure that the tool is right for e-learning. So we took the initiative and we built our very own form builder. So in this case, you have the same experience that you have on the site builder. So you don't need to learn something new. We have 25 ready-made templates. There are e-learning specifics. We have tags. You know how much we like tags. They link all over your school for leads, for users, for visibility, for creating new apps, so on and so forth. And we have also shareable URLs, which means you can actually create like a page that you can share like through social media, through emails, through, well, everywhere you can think of. And after survey redirection. So you can resend people into a course, into a specific course, into an exclusive course. You see with the tags what I'm doing there. And of course, to any other site you would like. Last but not least, we have also, you can also embed the service into pages and pop-ups with absolutely no code needed. So, you know, there are a lot of reasons why we got into this. So enough with chatting right now. Brett, are you ready? We are gonna go through 3 examples. The first one Brett is going to show you is a very easy one. So, you know, immediate, it will take, I counted 5 clicks to get through it. So I think we can call it the super easy one. And then we're going to see example number 2 is a little bit more advanced. It has more customization to it, and we're going to use the different settings, so we can showcase those too. And third one, we're going to show a whole sales funnel, how to build it and use it for marketing purposes. So Brett, over to you.
Thanks, Sarah. So our first example is a simple one, as Sarah mentioned. It should only really take us just a few clicks. Hopefully I can do it in 5 and live up to what Sarah has said there. And then what we're essentially going to be doing is we're going to be adding a survey into an existing course by selecting a form activity and choosing from one of the 25 ready-made templates that we have in existence. So I'm just going to pop into one of our pre-made courses here. And since this is going to be a form for kind of a course evaluation, we're going to bring this down to the bottom of our course here. So I'm just going to go to the last section we have here and add the activity here. So many of you are probably used to this particular menu when you're adding your activities. I don't know if you guys have been in here this week, but I'm sure you probably noticed within the questionnaire, we do have this new little activity here called forms. So I'm going to go ahead, click there. And I'm going to call this course evaluation. And I'll go ahead and save. And then from there, I'm going to click edit form. So this is actually going to bring us into the form editor here. And you'll see when we first come in here, like many of the different things that we offer in LearnWorlds, we have a large number of templates that are available to you. Everything from lead capture to contact forms to course forms, marketing research, and of course, things like consent forms or customer satisfaction. So these are all pre-made templates with questions that have already been kind of added in there for you. And of course, just like everything other template in LearnWorlds, you can delete things, you can remove things, and you can change them to your whim. So let's go ahead and start with a course evaluation form. So we'll just pick this short one here. As you can see, when you get into the editor here, it is pre-populated. You can see it's very similar to what you would see in the site editor with the addition of widgets and things like that. We have a number of questions that are actually located over here on the left. And we can simply just get through this, either by scrolling down here. And what we would essentially do here is then we're going to go ahead and save and close. So it's very easy to add these into your courses. If you go back into that course content now, you'll see that this has actually been added into my course. So as a user, and I'll show you what the user would see here. I'm just going to do a preview of the course player here. Give me a second with all this streaming. My internet is a little slow. So we're going to move forward here, and hopefully this course lets me skip all the way to the end.
First of all,
here we go. And you can see once we've added that in here, it does allow me to come in here, rate my course, and put in my answers. And of course, this is all going to get submitted, and I'll show you where you can actually find this data later on when you start exporting your information to do your research. All right, so let's jump back into our second example. Now, as Sarah had mentioned, it gets a little bit more complicated now. So let's talk about onboarding. So in our second example here, we are going to be focusing on student onboarding. Onboardings kind of provide us with a mechanism to help strengthen our students' commitment and learn a little bit about their interests, their goals, their strengths, and even their weaknesses. So in this example, we're going to select another pre-made template, but this time we're going to go ahead and customize it. So we can start by adding another form activity into our course. So since this is going to be an onboarding, I'm actually going to add this at the beginning of our course. So we'll go ahead and add an activity. Again, we're going to select the form, and we'll call this just onboarding. Oops, helps if I spell it correctly. Onboarding form, and we'll save. And just like before, we're going to jump into the editor here and choose a template from our selections here. Now there is one made already for an introduce yourself or a course onboarding, right? Where we can learn a little bit about our students. So I'm going to select that one to get started. You'll see that it's been added in here, and all of the questions that are available to me are kind of, down this menu here on the left, or I can scroll straight down through here. So what we're actually going to do, and we're going to start to kind of customize this form. I am going to remove these last questions here. And I'll tell you why in a second. So I'm just going to take these questions out. As I said, this is a template. We don't have to use anything that has been pre-populated, and we can get pretty fancy. So now that we've removed that, what I want to do is I still want to collect that information, but I'd like to do it in more of a dynamic way. So what I'm going to do is actually come over here. I'm going to click add question. So just like the site builder that you've been used to, you'll notice that there are about 16 new options when it comes to building out a form. So we have options for multiple choices. You can create forms with multiple answers, drop-down menus, country lists, consent forms. So you can even have that checkbox off of consent and able to, to work with some of your users. Short answers, paragraph answers, even information for collecting names, email, phone, even file uploads. Of course, our ratings, rankings, dates, times, and everything else that you potentially could need to build out a true form here. So we are this time actually going to go with a file upload. So this actually allows your students to reply with some type of file upload. And what I want to do here is actually create an area where students can give me all of those questions and all that information that was before, but I'm going to take it in a video format. So I'm going to have them use their camera, record a short video so that they can introduce themselves to me. So I'll just put something here in the text here like, record or drop video here, let's say. Drop video here. And of course, just like the page builder, if I want to add any additional text in there, I can click. I have my widgets that can be added into the area here with images and text and buttons and things like that. And I'm going to actually drop in some normal text here. So now I can put something like the directions, right? So say something like, please tell us about yourself, your interests, and goals. Okay, and then from here, I can click on this particular option, and I can see that there's a number of options available to me here. I can go ahead and just turn off the URL. I can turn off the Dropbox, the file upload, the additional notes field. I can increase this to about 20 because sometimes videos are a little bit larger on the file size. And I can choose how many files can be actually submitted here. So now I've created a nice area where my students can actually come and submit a video questionnaire to answer some questions that we were asking in our onboarding area here. So the next thing I want to do now that we've added that in here, I want to get a little bit more customized. So what I'm actually going to do is, it's almost like we have 3 different types of questions here. So just like a lesson in LearnWorlds, we can start to add sections into these questionnaires. So if I come over here and click add section, you'll see that I can actually name it here. So let's call this section general questions. Okay. And we'll come up here and I'm going to actually rename this section as well. So this will be welcome. And then I'm actually going to create a third section. And we're just going to drag that down below. And I'm going to call this one video. Okay. So now we've got 3 sections here. And what I want to do is actually start to organize my questions to make it a little bit easier for my students to figure out where they are in my questionnaire. So I am going to take the video that we created, this drop video here, and I'm going to drag this down into the video section. And the rest of these, I'm going to drag under the general questionnaire. So you can see it's really just drag and drop. I'm just clicking, dragging these questions in order that I want them in. So now I've created a nice section here. To go along with that, there is similar to what you would see in our page editor, right? There are a number of options here at the top. So one of the options here is navigation. So how will our students be navigating this questionnaire? So once I open up this, you'll see that there are a number of options available to me. There's the background, there's typography, there's even a theme explorer for the survey creation. And what we're going to do is just make a couple selections here just to customize this a little bit further. So I'm going to go with a section-based navigation mode. So now you can see right away that I've actually created these nice little areas that students can drop between the different sections. So only the questions that are available within that section are now viewable on this page. Next, I am going to go ahead and go to the theme explorer. And I'm going to just make a couple selections here. So one, I'm going to go down here and do a body question wrapper. So now I've added some nice little dynamic control around that. I'm going to go ahead and add some, let's say, normal spacing. So let's see if I can find that here, condensed normal, right on top of it. And then I'm actually going to go and do a normal layout as well. So you can see I've made some modifications here. You can make some changes here as well. You can also get into your typography, your effects, right? So if you want to show something like, maybe have the slide kind of slide to the right horizontally, right? So when I click, that's going to slide. I can also choose, how these are going to look when they check any of the check boxes, if it's going to look like it's scribbled in, or if I'm going for more of that kind of check or professional dot there. So you have some options when it comes to creating the look and the feel of these forms. I'm going to save my changes. Always save your changes. And you'll see that there's actually an area up here too. And I'll get into this in a little bit as we get into the third example. But this is actually an area where you can collect all your responses. You can export these into a CSV or an Excel. But again, we'll show that in just a little bit. So just to give you an example of what this would look like. Again, I'm going to go into my border here. As a student, I can click Start. Just close this out of here. You can see I have all the information in nice little sectioned areas. When I click this, it's going to slide to the right just like we wanted. As a student, I can kind of fill in these sections here. And then there's my video submission where I can upload my camera video there. So really a lot you can build out on these that is super helpful in getting your courses together. Let's take a look at the third example now. So let me just pull back in here. So it's time for our final example. And as Sarah had promised, it is probably the most complicated example that we're going to deal with tonight. So we're going to get a little bit more advanced on this one. And this time we're not actually going to start from the course like we were if we were building a survey. We are going to start from our marketing tab. And what we're going to do is create a complete sales funnel by embedding a form directly onto our course page. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is go to our builder here, and we're going to just exit what we've done here. I'm going to go down to our marketing tab here. And you'll see, and I'm sure many of you I've seen this week, we have this new form beta, this form builder area under customer feedback. So this is just another way of creating forms for your school that aren't just embedded within the course, right? So unfortunately, we don't have time to create an entire form from scratch. So what we actually did is create a form a little earlier, kind of like pre-baking a cake if we were on a cooking show. We created a form a little earlier. I'm going to make a copy of that so that I can just show you some options and things that are available to you. And then I'll kind of go back into a course page and we'll start embedding that into the course. So let's go ahead and just access this real quick. I'm going to go ahead and click duplicate. So that is over here. And of course, I can make a copy of it. I can name it anything I want and click duplicate. So now I've duplicated that form. Okay, and I'm going to go in and start editing it. Now, this is kind of like the initial image that was shown. And I'm sure some of this looks pretty familiar to you in terms of what you're used to seeing in the site editor. So just like the site editor, anything that I click here, I have the option to change. I can come in here and add, a different type of image. I might go for this more squared look. I can change the image here as well. So I can come in here, maybe grab something from my library, I don't know, anything really. Drop that in here. I got my start button here. I can change the color and do everything I want with that start button, including doing a full length button if I want to go for that kind of effect down there. And just like the site editor, I can even add additional text in there, icons, whatever I need to kind of dress up that initial page there. All right, so again, I can go through all of these and do the same. So if I want to add things in here like additional questions or any elements into my questionnaires, I can easily do that. I can also go ahead and do things like this. Now, this is extremely useful in my opinion, because you can create pop-ups that will tag users based on the way that they answer your questions. I'm sorry. So think of it this way. You have, when somebody first comes into your school, an onboarding pop-up that appears and asks them what their interests are. They will fill that information out, right? It will tag them with every interest that they select. And later on, you can create pop-ups every time you release a new course that will directly target those users based on the interest that they gave you at the beginning when they first came into your school. Think about how powerful that is when you start releasing new material and new courses. So this actually allows you, based on the answers that the users give you, to tag them, similar to what you'd be doing from your user profile. And I'm sure some of you have gotten used to probably, targeted pop-ups, as well as the ability to change visibility. And we'll even show you some more of that as we go along here. So tagging based on off of their selections. Let's actually jump into the embedding of this now. So I can showcase, actually, before we do that, let me just show you what a responses tab would actually look like. So you'll notice, we have a couple courses in here. I have some course forms that I just wanted to showcase. We will go ahead and just grab any one of these just to show you, you'll get some responses here and you can actually view these. So if we come over here, you can view your responses from this window as well. Look at this. So every question that they answer in your students' information there, you can pull out all of that information and you can export that information into an Excel or a CSV. Really, this is beyond powerful when it comes to understanding who your users are, what they're interested in, and what you need to start building as material. But you'll see that you can actually make some really good use of that. So let's go see how we can actually embed this into a page. So what I'm going to do is jump into my site editor like I normally would if I was creating a page or I could go to my course page. I'm just going to do it on the home page here just because it's easier to access. But what we would do is actually add this form as a section into a page. So I can click here just like you normally would. I'm going to go to the new forms area, click here. And now I have dropped this in here. Now, of course, we want to make sure that this is a little bit more associated to what we're trying to do, right? We have a sales boot camp. Sign up for early access to that boot camp. So I'm just going to change some text here. Right, we'll change that to get early access. We can change this to answer one simple question. Oops. Helps if I could type today, to be eligible to win free access to our upcoming sales bootcamp. I knew I was going to have some misspelling mistakes in there. So anyways, you can see what you can do here. So you can now modify that. Now I'm going to come in here. I'm going to import my form. So I'm just going to select the form that we had pre-made already. So I just need to find that in here, early bird access to our bootcamp. I'm going to go ahead and select that. You can see that anything that we created, that image, everything that we kind of were messing with originally will showcase here. And now I can actually come into this form. Now we can discard my changes for now. I can come into this form just like we were before in the form editor. And I'm going to come up here and there's a few things I just want to showcase here before we kind of move on. One is after submission. So once a user enters in their information and they go through the entire form process, we can now choose where they're going to be directed after their submission. So I can choose a course. If I want to go to my course page, I could choose a home page, a URL, a thank you page, really a page that I've created specifically for this bootcamp. Really any page in the school or anything I need to in terms of actions on click. I can also save the data into my leads table. So if I have an email collection or a name collection in my actual form, the information can be now pushed from this particular survey or form right into my leads page. So again, if many of us have, and I think many of us do, have some type of email marketing platform set up and integrated with LearnWorlds, those leads are going to go right into the lead page, and those leads are going to go right into your marketing machine, right? So you can start emailing these folks information about the boot camp, upcoming sales courses. It's a very powerful marketing trick there. So the other thing right here is now I can also tag the recipients who took this particular survey. So now I know that they're interested. I have them tagged in my system. When this launches, I can email those people. I can have pop-ups go after those people to let them know that this is launched. So I've tagged them now, and I'll also know the individuals that have signed up, so I can put them into my raffle to win the potential, free early access to the bootcamp. And then I'm gonna go ahead. I can also do share. So what does this mean? This means that I can actually take the data that I've collected from my form and share it outside of the school. So I can make this form shareable if I'd like. And now I can just copy this here and I can provide that link to somebody for them to access that information. Okay. All right. Save and close. And that is essentially what I wanted to show you. The other thing too, and I think many of you kind of probably know this, but one thing to keep in mind too is once you have somebody tagged with something here, doesn't really matter what element you click on in your page, whether it's a button or a section or a column or a picture, you always have this ability to do visibility. So think about that. I can make it so that this entire section only appears to people that have received that particular tag that we'd set from the course builder. Do I not see it in here? I don't think I saved it. I didn't save it. But anyways, you can select a particular tag and that person they'll only have visibility on that if they have that tag associated to their name. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this back to Sarah.
Thank you. So we're going to talk also about the follow-ups. So we also released today a brand new Zap that is all about the forms. So for every form submission, you can actually trigger an action that goes to all your favorite apps. So make sure you check this out. It's really good. And of course, you can use also the previous Zapiers that you had available before. So that means, for example, tag added or new lead created and so on. Like all of this is still available for you and can be connected with the forms. So that really gives you a sales funnel. We need to go into the next follow-up things. This is a little bit more a generic, let's say, recommendation from my side. If we can go ahead. And so what I want to tell you is that the important thing about collecting data is not just about collecting data, but acting on the information that is collected. This is really the key to success. So first of all, let's make sure at basic level that we review the results regularly. So this means coming in every day, every week, whenever it's suitable for your kind of business, but do it on a regular basis. Go in, check what your students said about you or new leads are telling you. Make sure you do that. It's a very good indicator of how things are doing. And of course, it's not just about reading about them, but following up. So, for example, somebody left a comment that you want to explain further. You need clarifications. Go ahead, get in touch with them and try to understand better what they mean. And then you can take this into your content or into your marketing. So it's really the improvement that comes after that, or improvement for the content, improvement for the marketing, or for anything else like in your school that really is the key of this form. It's not, of course, the form itself, is what you can do with it, what you gain for it. Also, the other thing that is important is that the follow-up should be immediate or as fast as possible. So for example, you can set up triggers from Zapier that notify you whenever, for example, somebody applies for a course. So you can make sure that you can review their application immediately and you can notify them back immediately as well. Marketing wise, you can also have automated responses. So for example, somebody leaves a 5 stars to your course, well, get in touch with them immediately. Like, well, they have like this momentum, like ask them to leave a review on your Facebook page, or you know, any other page that you're using. Or if somebody left like, you know, a not so good review, get in touch with them like on an individual basis, like ask them why they said this or the other one, or, you know, anything. During the course, make sure you actually follow up if somebody makes questions through the thing. Like, it's so obvious to say it right now, but actually it happens so often that these things are overlooked. So I want to stress it out. And last but not least, what also Brett pointed out, create your lead nurturing campaign. These tags are so powerful. You can set them up and you have the same tags set up in your MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, Aweber, ConvertKit, whatever email platform you have. And then whenever somebody responds with a certain answer to your survey, an email sequence is triggered automatically. You have to do nothing. Or whenever, I don't know, whenever a lead is captured through a pop-up, for example, same thing, this can happen. So make sure you think about through the whole cycle of your sales funnel, not just the form. The form is the tool, everything else is what you need. So moving on, talking about the tool, of course, like, it doesn't live in isolation. It supports your whole sales cycle, your whole learning experience. So what I wanted to go through with you was just giving you like few ideas here and there of the kind of forms that you could add to your school in order to get a better idea of what we could do before the course, during the course, after the course, and anything in between. So for example, before the course, we could, so marketing wise, we could look into subscribing to a specific newsletter, not anymore to a generic one, or request callbacks, apply for a corporate internal course, or run a contest online, or anything like this. During the course, or at the moment of applying for a course, you can, for example, very cheeky, add a physical product to your course. So you can say, for example, you're running, I don't know, a software programming kind of course. Why not adding like an Arduino kit, just for starters? And out of it, so basically you would use a form to collect their data, to get their address, and to ship it to them. So that could also mean more revenue for you. For example, you could run also demographic surveys, so you learn more about your audience and you can reuse this data for marketing purposes. You could, for example, gate the access to some of the courses that maybe they have sensitive topics. So you may want to control who is accessing this data. You know, or during the course, again, you could collect questions and then you can decide to have Zoom sessions weekly to answer all these questions. And after the course, we have like the more typical instructor evaluation, course delivery feedback, feedback about, I don't know, the website, anything you want. And again, the important thing is that you can connect this feedback with, for example, new topic research or providing social proof. So make sure that whatever you create is not isolated, but you think about the whole workflow when you do so. So that was it for me. We can go through the questions in the Q&A. I can see that Costantina answered to most of them, but let's just go through them quickly to see whether a few of the questions can actually be for everyone. So the first one actually not answered yet. I can see Costantina is typing. Can a form completion or associated tag generate an automatic email to the person who completed the form? Yes, this can be done either by a tag or via a Zap. So that can definitely be done. Can we adjust the settings of where the form will go? I want to assign a single email where the notification will go. Yes, this is also possible with Zapier. And also you will find all the marketing forms within the lead, the leads collected through the marketing form in your lead pages. And the course pages, you can always find the results there, but you can find notification. You can set a trigger notification via Zapier. Via LearnWorlds directly, but no, probably not. Sorry, I'm just reading through, mumbling through the questions. In the future, is there a development in place that will create a way for notification or responses through LearnWorlds? We'll see. It's a great suggestion. We're always opening to that. So absolutely, thank you. We'll add this to our backlog. And I would say that the other are pretty technical. Bert, are you looking through the questions as well?
Yeah, I'm jumping through them. I know you jumped on a bunch that I could potentially answer. How to make email. So you mentioned that one. Just the screen. We're just going over. Yeah, I think you covered the ones that I could actually get covered. I think it looks like Constantina really kind of.
Yes, Constantina, you're too fast.
No. I'm not inviting you to the next webinar, Constantina.
Yes. We have more questions about where the data gets stored and if the user can get a copy of their inputs. Right now, this is not possible. We'll think of a workaround though, and we'll get back to you on this one because it is indeed a very important question.
They could use the shareable link, right, with their students if they provided them.
So that's for the form.
Yeah.
But then the results has to be collected and then resent. We can think about this one. Okay. And yeah, more about tags and so on, which I think we explained quite well during the webinar before. Yeah, is there anything question? Let me go also through the chat. Nice. Yes, as Constantina is saying, exactly, we created like a good series of support articles, so you can find I think 5-6 articles that can help you go through all the forms. And also we have a blog with like a few more ideas on how to implement the blog into your school. Let's say more from an idea point of view rather than a technical point of view.
You know, I think one of the most basic uses of it is probably going to be one of the most helpful, right? With being able to, and I know some people would used to embed survey tools like you had some of the ones you had mentioned previously, but being able to run a course and then ask your users at the end of that course what their opinion was on the course and what they got out of it and what they would change. That's really going to allow you to adjust your content as things go along, and it's going to allow you to make changes to make that course more interesting, to advance with the times. The survey itself is super powerful, and now being able to just kind of build that in there and collect that information from your users is going to be just next step in the LearnWorlds journey. So
absolutely. This is great. I would say that our time is up also. So I'd like to thank everyone on behalf of the whole team. It was really great to host this presentation for us. And as we said earlier, we're going to send a recording tomorrow. So have a fantastic evening or rest of the day. And let us know all your ideas about new forms. We really would like to hear that. You could, for example, either email us directly, or you could also leave comments inside the changelog in your school. We'd really love to hear that. Thank you so much, and I wish you all well.
Thanks everyone for joining.
Happy holidays. Bye-bye.